Welcome to Tanares Adventures Painting Guide. In this first video, we're gonna learn how to paint the green dragon from Arena the Contest core box. So let's get cracking! So as a first step, we're going to wash the miniature with soap and water to clean all the mold release agents that can be stuck to the miniature in the process of manufacturing. The next step is optional, but you can do it if you want to separate the miniature from the base. When you freeze, the glue becomes weak and it's very easy to snap the miniature out of the base. In this way you have better access to the bottom of the miniature, which is hidden by the base itself, so it's gonna make it easier for you to reach those deep crevices underneath the miniature. And I just forgot to say, you need to leave the miniature in the freezer for at least 2 hours. Next, we're gonna prime the miniature. But first, I'm putting the miniature in a holder, anything that can hold the miniature better out of your hands. I'm using a spray primer by Vallejo, but you can use any primer you want for this stage, as long as it's a primer. As we're gonna handle this miniature quite a lot, the bond between the paint and the model has to be very strong. I'm using a spray booth with a extraction air system. Even with that, I'm using my respirator to make sure I don't breathe all that mist that comes from the spray can. After we get a miniature primed, it's time to do some highlights. And we're gonna use a zenithal technique, which means we're gonna be applying a lighter color from above to create a light mapping for our lights and shadows. And I'm using the airbrush for this application. And to speed the drying time, I'm using a hair dryer here. Don't steal your hair dryer from your wife. She's gonna get very mad. Now that we get our primer and zenithal highlights done, it's time to apply some colors. The first color we're going to apply is Militarian Green from Citadel. It's a contrast paint and it's very easy to go to the airbrush. That's why I choose that color. As a second color, we are going to apply Flash Tears Red. It's a rich red and it's gonna give you a nice base for our red on the wings. And I use the brush to apply that color because it's easier to go through the lines on this model. If you wanna see more of my work, just follow me on my Instagram page, Dungeons and Minis. Link on the description down below. Now it's time for the bone colors. And we're gonna use this khaki color from Vallejo. And then we are going to apply the horns at the end of the wingtips, nails, and underbelly. Now it's time for a dry brush. Dry brush is a technique where we are going to apply the paint to the brush and remove all the excess in a paper towel. Then, with the brush almost dry, we apply on the miniature very lightly just to catch the most raised areas. I'm starting here with two greens, one being a little more light than the base coat and the other even lighter. And you can notice, every time that I load my brush, I wipe most of it off in a paper towel. Sorry for being out of the frame here, but it's my first time recording a video to the YouTube, so bear with me. Now we continue with the dry brush, but this time using a lighter red for the wings. Notice that I'm dry brushing only the top of the main brain, avoiding the recesses and maintaining their shadows intact. After the first coat of red is dry, we are going to add this light yellow called ice yellow from Vallejo. It will lighten even more our red. Now it's time to add details to the model. With green mixed with yellow, and using the brush, we are going to highlight all bits that the dry brush missed, or we want to be lighter, like the face, top of the muscles, and in the knuckles on the wing fingers, or whatever that's called. And then, with pure ice yellow, do one more turn of highlights to mark the most raised areas on the miniature. And also, we start to draw some veins on the wings. Use creativity here. This stage has to be very organic. Now with a lighter bone color, we highlight the horns, nails, and underbelly. And remember to like and subscribe to the channel. This is the only way I can know if you guys want me to continue this painting series. So it's time to get messy here, as we are going to wash all the miniature in oil paint. This stage can be a little scary, but due to the long work time of the oil paints, we can stain just enough to add proper shadows and bring more definition to the piece. I'm using here basically burnt amber, primary green, cadmium red, magenta, dioxazine purple, and black, all from Winsor & Newton, which is very easy to be found in any hobby stores like Hobby Lobby or Michael's. As you can see, the oil paints bring a lot of the saturation back to the model and blend all the dusty effects that the dry brush technique produces. And I forgot to say, I use odorless mineral spirit to dilute the oil paints like the one showing in the screen right now. If you want to learn more about how to work with oil paints, let me know in the comments down below. After this stage, we have to leave it to dry a little for about 15 to 20 minutes. After this time, our model is ready for a cleanup. With a makeup sponge, I start removing all the excess from the most raised parts of the miniature, leaving again more paints in the shadows. Just rub it off gently. If it's not coming out easily, use a little bit of mineral spirit to activate the paint again. And on the belly here, I use a Q-tip instead, as it gives me easier access to the narrow parts. I'm just reapplying one more coat of oil wash here, because I need that part a little bit more strong. Let it dry it again for about 20 minutes, then wipe it up. In this part here, I'm coming back with the bone color and bringing some of the highlights that we lost during the oil wash step. Try to make some light lines and scratches. This way we can achieve that worn bone look. And we do the same thing here on his belly. only the most raised areas towards the center of the belly. And now, using a light green, I'm gonna airbrush it only on the parts where I want to be lighter. And remember, I'm trying to bring focus to his face. So at the end, all the lights have to be directing the viewer attention to his face. Now, with a dark purple ink called dioxazine purple, I'm gonna darken the shadows even more to accentuate the contrast between the light and dark. Now, using Carbon Crimson from Citadel, I'm gonna apply it in the red shadows. Note that I apply a thin coat towards the shadows, and then with a clean brush, I blend the transition, avoiding unwanted stains, also known as coffee stains. With a Tonian Camo shade, also from Citadel, I'm gonna repeat the last step, this time to blend the green and the bone color on his belly. And remember to apply one coat on green, and with a clean brush, blend the transition. To bring even more saturation to his skin, I'm gonna dilute Pterodon Turquoise, a contrast paint from Citadel. 1:1 ratio with contrast medium, and if you don't have any medium you can use water instead, and apply this mix to the mid-tones between the dark and lighter parts, never on the highlights. Here I'm coming back with another coat of green, just to give a little more depth on that shadows between the skin and the belly. Using the same red wash as before, I'm gonna apply it on the center of his chest to give it a little more color variation. And also I use it on the base of the spikes bones that he has on his back. As I said before, we need to bring the viewer attention to his face. So with our highlight color, we are going to highlight his face, only the topmost edges. And as we did on his chest, using a diluted red wash, we are going to apply it on his face as well. And remember, only on the midtones and shadows, never over our highlights. And now for the last part of our tutorial, we are going to paint his eyes. I'm going for a glowing effect here. So I'm painting his eye sockets with pure white and also marking some of the adjacent edges where I want the glow to be more potent. To finish the effect, I'm gonna glaze a diluted Yandan yellow contrast paint into his eyes and the adjacent parts. And as a last touch, I'm gonna mark his pupils with pure white. And that's it. I hope you have enjoyed our journey into here. And if you want to see more of my work, like, subscribe, and visit my Instagram page at Dungeons and Minis. Thank you very much, and see you the next time.